Jewish Khazars are not a spiritual people. They perceive the religion of Judaism as a way to reform society at large. And from Judaism, they created Kabbalah, the black magic occult, and the Illuminati, not to mention their involvement in the enslavement of black America. But before they flocked to America to make more money off of us, they reaped some havoc in Russia. They're responsible for mass murders in Russia. So I want to spend some time discussing this. No one ever talks about Russia. So we really don't know much about what's going on over there. But before the Khazar Jews fell victim to Hitler's Holocaust, they had their hands in the murder of millions in Russia. The Jews penetrated their ideas in Russia. And when you put their beliefs with the philosophies of people like Moses Hess, who's a Jew, and communist Karl Marx, along with the funding of international Jewish bankers of New York, London, and Hamburg, they were able to influence Russia with their views quite easily and take it over. We think it crazy when we think about anybody taking over America or taking over the world, but it's already been done. Know your history. And when you've studied your own history, know the history of your neighbors. Know what's going on around you. Many of you have heard of Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin, both dictators of Russia together, responsible for the deaths of 49 million of Russia's citizens. Well, Stalin was Lenin's protege. Lenin made him even more evil than he was. But while history books will tell us that these men are responsible for these deaths, it won't tell you where these evil men come from. So let's talk about the root of these men. And you may say, well, why are you taking it all the way back to Russia? But remember, this was just 2 generations ago, your grandmother's generation. So we have to know this stuff is going on because we may very well be next. There's a reason why Russian news is never broadcasted in America. They don't want us to know what's going on over there. But the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So I'm giving you some today. Vladimir Lenin's grandfather was a Khazar Jew. He was a part of that nation who took on the identity of the true Israelites, put their satanic roots into the word of the Most High, and created the Kabbalah occult and founded the Illuminati with the agenda of taking over the world. So Lenin stems from the satanic roots of the Khazar. He was born in Russia, and he led the country from about 1917 to 1922. Although he had his hands in the government since 1903. But Lenin's considered a Jewish atheist. Now, how is that possible if you're the true Jew? How can you also be called someone who doesn't believe in God? Another example of how something holy has become evil. A Jewish atheist is an oxymoron in terms, but this proves that these people are not holy at all, but come from satanic roots. They had their own agenda. Now, a group of Jews got together under the influence of the Kabbalah and the Illuminati and believed that they were the supreme beings and were to rule the world and ultimately destroy all else in it. You have to start small. So they founded what's called Bolshevism, and they chose Lenin as their leader. Who better to lead them than a satanic Khazar Jew? So from the pure Torah came Judaism, then the black magic Kabbalah, then the Illuminati and Freemasonry. Then comes Bolshevism. Now, Bolshevism is a secret society consisting of powerful atheist Jews and followers of them who sought to take over the world. The history books won't tell you that the root of Lenin and Stalin's oppressive reign was Bolshevism. They were not just Russian men killing Russian peasants. They were Jewish men doing the killing. You have to understand that. Before Hitler, there was Lenin and Stalin, and they were Jews. Stalin was a follower of these corrupt Jews. So Bolsheviks sought to seize state power and establish a dictatorship. The method to their madness was communism. And for those of you who don't know, communism is a movement to create a classless, moneyless, and stateless social order. The Bolsheviks overthrew every revolution that came against them in order to achieve this, and they did achieve it. The Russians were a poor people residing in villages, living simple yet hard lives. They were peasants. Lenin moves in as the leader of Russia with his Bolsheviks backing him. First, he took Russia out of World War I. Then he took control of the media. Then he moved the capital of Russia to Moscow. Then he established a secret service called the Cheka to minimize revolutions against them. See, the strategies are the same. Media control is used even today either to block out the masses from knowing the truth or to overflood them with negative images and depress the hell out of them. Media control is the reason that when we think of the Khazar Jews today, we automatically go to the Holocaust and we immediately have sympathy for them. But before the Holocaust in Germany, what were their crimes in Russia? The Bolsheviks, atheist Jews, executed everyone who came against the Bolshevism movement. Lenin ordered anyone who opposed them to be shot. They arrested tens of thousands and executed them. Russians were tormented and tortured. Bodies were literally ripped to shreds and crucified under Lenin. Lenin even killed the emperor who was in office before him, Nicholas II, and killed his entire family, his doctor, his maid, even his cook, because Nicholas was for the atheist Jews publicly, but in private he was against them. But remember, the Bolsheviks were not a Russian movement. They were a Jewish movement. What else is Lenin guilty of? To put forth his communist agenda, he decided that peasants would not own private property, and he confiscated their goods at gunpoint, and they were given to the Bolshevik Jews. There was no more private land. The peasants had to work on one large farm instead of their own private farms. This was part of communism. They only worked on the land owned by the state. They had to meet a quota or else they were killed. At one point, their seeds were taken, so they couldn't possibly meet the quota. And those who were not killed starved to death. Some even ate one another to survive. 29 million total starved to death in Russia under this atheist who called himself a Jew. Lenin and his Jewish men, the Bolsheviks, all stemming from satanic roots and black magic and the Illuminati, now disguised as communists in Russia. Now, Joseph Stalin became Lenin's protege. When Stalin took over as leader of Russia, the Bolsheviks changed their name to the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. Same satanic group of men, though, same atheist Jews. Now, Stalin is a little different because he wasn't a Jew. He actually went to seminary school, believe it or not. But he dropped out and joined the Jewish Bolshevik movement at age 19. And he had a chip on his shoulder because his father was abusive. One of his arms was shorter than the other. He was only 5'4", so he already had these issues. But he decides to become like these evil Jews and joins their movement. He was militant. He organized a bank robbery. He was willing to do for the Bolsheviks what no one else besides Lenin was willing to do. He was willing to continue the massacre of Russian citizens. From 1922 to 1952, he killed about 20 million Soviet citizens as a member of the Communist Party. So what has happened is a mystery religion such as Kabbalah turns into an arrogant elitist society like the Illuminati. Is picked up by terrorists like Lenin and Stalin and gets turned into a terrorist plot against the rest of the world like Bolshevism, and then uses communism on the people to achieve its terror. The stuff is years in the making, so you have to study it and document it, see how it plays out, because who really knew this all was connected? Who knew those Jews in Khazar were connected to satanic worship and took on the identity of the Israelites? Who knew that the so-called African American would sleep through this and allow their identity to be taken? Who knew Lenin and Stalin were linked to Jewish followers of the Illuminati? And all those Russians, nearly 50 million, died in the name of satanic worship. Who knew? Once this kind of hate reaches the level of terrorism, it's no longer about the Bible and holiness. It's about one group of people plotting to kill everybody else. Doesn't matter what you call it anymore. Judaism, Kabbalah, Illuminati, Freemasonry, none of this stuff stems from the Most High. Both Lenin and Stalin, as well as the Jews that backed them up, worshiped themselves. Stalin followed in the same footsteps as Lenin. He uprooted the best farmers and sent them to Siberia, kept the peasants working on a collective farm. He took their food and starved them to death. Adolf Hitler's regime was really a response to the evils of Lenin and Stalin. Hitler came up in Germany during the Nazi era, when it was believed that Aryans were the supreme pure race. He was also rooted in the mystic occult. So here we go again. That same we're the supreme race and everybody else must be destroyed way of thinking. But different group of people now. So first the Khazar so-called Jews seek to take over the world. Now the Nazis seek to take over the world. So at the end of the day, although the Nazis didn't claim to be Jewish, they were a mystic people just like the Jews. So the Holocaust was an evil answer to another evil. What you have is one group of satanic people seeking to purge out another group of satanic people. But both are satanic. This is something history will not tell you. So I want to end on this note. It's important that people understand it is because the true Israelites do not worship Satan or money or the occults or themselves that they do not follow in the order of Lenin, Stalin, and Hitler. They do not seek to destroy all else in the world. Just because the Bible says they're chosen doesn't mean kill everybody. It means the revelation of Yahuwah and the Messiah, Yahusha, has been revealed to and through them. The word of the Most High, therefore, was written by them. When the Bible says salvation is of the Jews, that means the world would have no idea what salvation meant if it wasn't for Israelites who wrote about it. And if you want to know how to love the Most High and follow after his righteousness, he's already shown his chosen people how to do it. So get in line and follow them. They've seen the glory. They've been given the commandments. They've been adopted as sons and priests. Follow them. Do not follow paganism. Do not follow satanic worship and mystic religions, black magic and money worship, self-worship. He says, follow the true people whom I've chosen, and they will lead you to the real me. So in conclusion, I do not promote the extermination of any race. I do not hate other races. I simply want the true Hebrew Israelite nation to wake up and know that the Old Testament Bible is talking about you. I want them to keep the covenant established with their ancestors in the wilderness. I want them to wake up and reflect the holiness ordained for them. Stop gangbanging and flossing money and luxuries that don't mean nothing. Get out of the pagan churches designed to keep you numb and dumb and broke. I want other nations to stop trying to be the true Israelites and respect the ones they've called the people of the book. Be who you are. If you descend from Ishmael, then be that. If you descend from Edom, then be that. If you descend from Japheth, then be that. But respect the ones who descend from Jacob and respect the God that has chosen them, and then understand that this covenant is not a call to exterminate the world, but to be a beacon of light so that all outside nations can understand what a righteous God and what a righteous people look like and follow after that model of righteousness.